Tim, do you wanna join in one of the podcasts?
I'm afraid not, guys.
What's holding you back?
What's holding me back?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. Working for Tom. Working
Yeah,
on
you're gonna be living with me in like 2
selling the first
weeks.
bird waterer for his chicks. He has 5 guinea hens and 26 little chicks, and they're all adorable. Anyway, they need a different water system because they drink this one too greedily.
I can see why that would inhibit you from watching a movie and being on a Zoom call. So I
What movie
understand.
are you guys watching?
We just watched The Thing with Two Heads.
I'll be happy to hear how that goes. You guys enjoy.
All right.
Thank you, Tim.
It seemed like a good idea at the time. The white bigot was dying.
I want to transplant my head on a healthy body.
I think I like to donate my body to science after all.
So they transplanted the white head onto the black body. Who would have suspected that neither would care for the idea too much?
What do you got?
Recording. Hello, boys. We've done it again. The 0 Oscars. Here we are. The Thing with Two Heads. It's a film we watched. I'm John.
I'm Kylan.
Eli.
I'm Alex.
I'm Troy.
Troy, thank you for being on this podcast. What are things that are important that demonstrate your worth of being here?
Well,
Sell yourself.
Well, my name's Troy. I kind of like movies. I like the beach, but I don't like long walks.
Yeah.
I really don't know why you guys asked me to be here, but I'm happy to be here. So I'm going to contribute the best that I can. I don't know. Tell me why you chose.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I don't know either. But I am still happy.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Of course, anytime.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. I'm just sitting on the porch of my Hollywood mansion. Like
Yeah. Why is it that you chose to talk to us on your porch?
Well, I think this is just the best view. This is where I can wave to my neighbors / celebrities.
Yeah.
And I think
Wait, they're celebrities to you, or they are celebrities?
I'm celebrities to them, but they're also celebrities. You know how it is. It's just one of those things. Here in Knoxville Heights.
It's a social parasocial relationship. Very good.
Exactly.
Yeah. How are you guys been doing?
Yeah, been well. Any of you all watch anything good the last week before we get into this?
Maybe. I've seen some junk, and I've seen some stuff that's maybe not junk. I'm trying to remember what I watched. I'm just pulling up my Letterboxd.
Oh yeah, Letterboxd.
I watched a lot of stuff that I felt very middling on. Sort of felt like a cynical old man who's also a young boy who's 22 years old. So if I may list just a couple titles that I saw. I watched this little guy, you might have heard of him, Jerry Seinfeld. He has released a new comedy special, which is all about him being like, wow, I really hate other people and that they exist. And he goes, isn't it the worst? Yeah.
Yep.
It really connects.
Show, though. I've been binge watching like Seinfeld. I think it's great.
What is that?
The show, the sitcom Seinfeld. You know, it's the twin of Friends. I think it's a little better than Friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was just trying to be nice.
Okay.
So, yeah, I love Seinfeld. I think it's great.
I've not seen enough, but
Gotta
he really outs himself as a 65-year-old man in this one, which is, I guess, fair but a little strange. It feels like a special from like 20 years ago, because it's a lot of like, your wife is always right and you hate her, don't you? And it's like, I've been
lives in 1990, dude.
He does. I think he may be trapped there.
Someone save him.
Please let Jerry out of the 90s. But it was okay. But it felt a little, I think especially right now, it felt a little cynical, especially about human contact, which maybe struck a nerve. Because it's just like, I hate my friends and I never want to see any of them. And it's like, I don't know if I agree with that. But other than that, I've seen a couple other things, but nothing super worth mentioning. What about you guys?
I watched the Nicolas Cage film, Vampire's Kiss,
Oh,
which is the weirdest thing, but I love it because Nick Cage just overacts and it's beautiful.
what is the premise of that movie?
So he thinks he's a vampire. Now, it doesn't really let you know, but he's just
It's a
walking around.
documentary.
Yeah. He's just walking around in the day, like carrying a stake and like covering his head. He buys like fake fangs. It's just really odd, but it's Nick Cage, so it's fun.
Beautiful. He's done it again.
I also watched Cloud Atlas, which that's a 3-hour movie. It was long and difficult to understand, but Tom Hanks is great. Halle Berry's great.
Is that directed by the Wachowskis, or am I misremembering?
I think so, yeah. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Alex, what have you seen?
I went to Alabama and visited my grandfather, where we watched 2 John Wayne movies.
Yes.
Which ones?
One was called Rio Bravo,
Oh yes.
and I can't remember the other one's name.
Stagecoach? Was it Stagecoach?
It was not Stagecoach.
True Grit.
Yes, it was the 2010 True Grit. Actually.
Yeah, the 2010 one.
Heavy focus on Matt Damon. Yeah.
They were interesting. There were definitely some parts that you could tell it was filmed in 1950 something. Just
like the whole thing.
Yes, like the whole thing.
Were the credits or the copyright date, were those clues towards it, or what do you mean?
Well, I skipped over those parts. Well, he skipped over those parts. But they were both interesting movies. I've never really been a huge John Wayne fan just because he plays the same character in every movie. So they were okay.
Fair enough.
Beautifully middling.
Eli, what about you?
I watched The Death of Stalin, which I loved. It's a political satire about Stalin dying, which is quite possibly the best kind of political satire.
I've been meaning to watch that forever.
Yeah, exactly. It's by Armando Iannucci, I think is his name. He did In the Thick of It and In the Loop, which are a show movie combo political satire in Britain. And he also, I think he worked on Veep, which is just supposed to be the American counterpart of those shows. So I'm a big fan of his. I very much like The Death of Stalin. Steve Buscemi's a hero.
Is he playing his same character from Con Air?
Yeah.
Con Air. That's such a good. I wish I had a 0%.
I do too.
Talk about Con Air.
Troy, what about you? What have you been watching?
This week was actually kind of a dead week for me, unfortunately, just because of a few things. But I actually did have my letterbox pulled up here. I saw like 4 movies this week. I'm of course doing the whole Friday the 13th thing. I have one more Friday the 13th movie to go through. So I watched Freddy vs. Jason. And then within the last 24 hours, I watched Do the Right Thing and Velocipaster. Have you guys seen Velocipaster?
Yes.
It's so good. I legitimately think it's like a purely imaginative and good movie. Like, this is great.
I got retweeted by the official Velocipaster Twitter account.
Oh my God.
I don't mean to brag.
Yeah. I know Sobiek's got some interaction with them on Twitter as well. Yeah. They seem pretty active. Like, if you tweet at them, I think they probably will tweet back.
Yeah, it reads like Spider-Man. Like I maybe I'm the only one who thinks that, but like you have the weird transfer of power, the family death, and then avenging it, and then maybe like the responsibility, balancing the power. It was like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning when I finished it, and I honestly it hit me. I don't know.
And Frankie Mermaids is a beautiful character.
He's swimming. But yeah, that's pretty much the extent of what I've watched this week. Is just a lot of interesting movies, and then Do the Right Thing, which is a Spike Lee movie, which I highly suggest watching. It's really good.
Solid titles, yeah.
Yeah.
So then, I'm sorry.
I was going to say there's a shared film that all of us saw this week called The Thing with Two Heads.
Yeah.
From 1972.
Good segue.
So, John, do you want to begin and we do the whole the time
Oh,
synopses.
yes. So we could just tell you what the thing with two heads is all about, but we would rather do, I don't know that I would call it a game, but a little technique where we do a series of time synopses. Troy, I don't know if you've seen the show before, which no offense if you haven't, it's long. I wouldn't watch these if I wasn't editing them, except I did actually once, so they're pretty good. I changed my tune. But so we do a series of descending synopses in which the first person gets 25 seconds, the second gets 20, and then 15, and then 10, and then 5. And because you're our beloved special guest, we give you the coveted 5-second slot in which you'll summarize the thing with two heads. But
Okay.
we're gonna work down. So we're gonna start with the most time and then work down to the least.
Right.
So
Who had what times last week?
I had 15 seconds.
I had 25.
I think I had 20.
Yeah, kind of 25.
Yeah, Eli had 10.
So do we just want to swap down one
Yeah,
each?
so Eli would now get the 25,
Yeah.
and I get 15. Kylan gets
I get 20.
20.
John gets 10.
Yes.
John gets 10. Troy, you get the coveted 5 seconds.
You know what? I think I can do it. I think
this one is much easier
I
than
think I can do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
We tried to do this with They Saved
Saved
Hitler's
Hitler.
Brain. I don't know if you've seen that movie. We did that
I
last
haven't.
week.
I did
It's
watch
a lot
the-
more
a lot
convoluted.
of
This
the
one is
episodes.
very streamlined. That one was very heavy on plot. I would say this one is maybe less so. I dare say.
It's all subtext, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty deep. But if you want to enable screen sharing, Kylan, I can pull up the
Yeah.
timer.
I got you.
And we can get this puppy started. All right. Down and dirty. So who's going first? Was it Eli?
It is
Yeah.
me.
Eli.
All right. Are you ready for me to count you in?
I guess so.
All right. Be as detailed as you can be, especially with the 25 seconds. So
Right.
3, 2, 1, start.
There's an old doctor named Dr. Kirschner who has chest cancer, which I can only assume means his entire body is dying. He decides he's a transplant specialist. He wants to transplant his head onto another body as he's done with a gorilla. They can't find a body, so his friend doctor goes into a jail and finds a black guy who's on death row. They put his body on. The black guy doesn't like it. They run around. The black guy is maybe innocent, and then they take his head off. That wasn't great. I missed a point or two there.
It was passing. All right. So, Kylan, you're next.
Yeah.
All right.
Count me in.
3, 2, 1, go.
Really old, racist doctor, dying, decides, I need a new body. Ends up having his head transplanted onto a black man who is on death row, who thinks he's innocent, tells everyone he's innocent, probably is innocent. The obviously racist white doctor is really mad. They drive around away from the cops. Eventually, they cut the racist white guy's head off, leave it, and they run away happy.
That was a second over, Kylan. He's automatically disqualified.
Yeah.
Kick him
Kick
out.
him off the pod. Kick him off his
You
own
can't.
call.
This is my Zoom now.
Okay, so Alex has
Kylan,
the
you're
15 then.
broadcasting your email to everyone, by the way.
Good.
It doesn't actually show up
Okay.
in the recording.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
You ready, Alex?
Hold on. Let me.
Just prepare yourself mentally for this ordeal. Yeah. So far, none of you have mentioned several what I would deem critical details to this film. So I'll try to hit those in mind, or maybe
Okay,
Alex will do it.
Okay. I think
You
I can
ready?
do it.
All right. Ready for me to count you in?
Yes.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Old racist doctor. He's dying. We've already been over this. He wants to do a head transplant to save himself. They find a volunteer black guy from a prison. They put his head on the black guy's body. They run around. Black guy breaks out. He's upset. His girlfriend tries to prove he's innocent. Head removed.
Such an honest summation. All right. I will count myself in. I will. Oof. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Man who's a gorilla enthusiast, but he's also a surgeon. He's also a racist. We can put another head on a gorilla, but then he can't, and then he does it, but then he can't do it. So then he gets his head on something else, and then there's a dirt bike, and it's a bog race. It was an honest attempt, but I'm just surprised none of you brought up the extended dirt bike chase.
You can't. We need like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
All right, Troy, are you ready?
yeah, I'm ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Racist transplant specialist gets what's coming to him.
Ooh, there you go.
Nice.
Succinct.
That was very good.
It was right up there with Katie's from last week, which I believe was shit happens and then Hitler.
Yeah.
All right, excellent.
Whew.
All right.
So now that we've got the broad strokes out of the
Right.
way, Eli, could you be our kind Sherpa as we climb up the mountain that is the thing with the two heads?
I
Just sort
want
of
to
break it down
guys.
for us.
Right. Okay. So, as I earlier said, the doctor's name is Dr. Kirschner. I feel like I had an easier time remembering character names
Mhm.
in this one than the Hitler one.
That's fair.
Probably because the characters stay the same through the whole movie. But
That helps.
yeah, so Dr. Kirschner he's got a swanky mansion because he's rich and old. And in the basement, it's revealed he has a two-headed gorilla. Why does he have a two-headed gorilla? It's because he's a transplant specialist who's been working on transplanting heads. But obviously you do that to a gorilla first.
You want to build up.
Animal testing.
Do you guys
Right,
think
yeah.
that he had other animals that he worked up to from the gorilla? Like he
Okay.
started really small, like he was doing it with mice, and then he,
Gosh.
just like he worked up the tier list until he got to gorilla. Like this is
Right.
the penultimate one, or do you think this was his first shot?
I think it was his first. He's a one-hit wonder.
Did you see that basement? That crummy basement. That thing looks awful. You can tell they like filmed it like a. I mean, I feel like the exterior of the house, that basement was not shot in the same place.
They drove by a mansion, filmed it, said, "Okay, we're in there."
John, did you confirm that the gorilla's name was Bongo?
I cannot confirm that the gorilla's name was Bongo, but I also can't confirm the opposite. So I have to assume that it probably was.
So, as we found out in our research, the thing with two heads is actually a prequel to Legend of Bobby.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, we'll get into that in more detail later
Oh,
on,
yeah.
but it's a pretty significant link. So you guys you're gonna want to see this.
But essentially his plan is he's dying, so Dr. Kirschner wants to put his head on another body. He would take control of that body, and then he could be fine. Although that doesn't really make any sense because his head would still be old, but don't think about that. So
I mean, you can work with that. Like he's got.
I mean, yeah, he won't die in a month of the cancer, yeah. But I mean, he won't live significantly longer.
What if like it just continued without a hitch, but he only lives for like 3 extra years, the
Oh
time
my
he would have
God.
had anyways.
Well, the science was correct. Anyway, so he goes back to the hospital to, he's got this friend, Dr. Desmond. Was that his name?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
friend Dr. Desmond. So he talks to him for a while, then he goes back to check on the old gorilla, two-headed gorilla, which they attempt to contain with a flimsy thing that you would put over a baby, like a little basket that looks like a cage. So it just very simply yeets it across the room. It throws him to the side.
Can we talk about that? Because
Yes.
while their process is meticulous, they clearly didn't think a lot of the steps through. They are very careful with the steps that they do, but they don't realize that they're not good.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is that they have the gorilla in a cage. They roll a gurney up to the cage. Then they put this cage mesh over top of the gurney. It's not bolted down or anything like that. And they have to hold the cage down by reaching their hands inside the cage with the two-headed gorilla to make sure that the gorilla can't get out, which just seems like a nightmare because I would not want to put my hands in there with the
With a
gorilla.
one-headed gorilla.
Yeah.
Now, I would say for 1972, this gorilla looked pretty good. I will say
Yeah,
the
I would
special
agree.
effects. I mean, it looked pretty good. I mean,
Especially when it was eating those bananas.
the Sunrise Market, yeah.
Of course, it breaks free and goes on a rampage in a supermarket. And the last we see it, I believe it's eating those bananas. So
Yeah.
who knows what happened to that gorilla? I can only assume it's still rampaging.
It may still be in the sunset market or whatever.
Well, no, they got it. Remember, because he took the other head off of it.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, that's not the same head it had, or whatever. And the one guy's like, what are you talking about?
That's right. I forgot about that. So before we get to that scene, he, I guess, just stands up and, that gorilla stuff happens off camera. But he goes back to the hospital because he needs to hire a new guy who he's been told is a top doctor in rejection medicine. I guess understanding why bodies reject transplants. Or why people get rejected in relationships. But
in the study of bad breakups. Yeah.
But so he's like really excited to meet this guy. And then, his name is Williams, I think, comes in and he's black. And immediately the doctor's face goes for like, he just turns into an angry old man in seconds. And of course, they have an argument. He tries to push Williams out of his contract, but Williams won't back down. And I do appreciate that the film it's not like everyone's racist. Everyone pretty easily vilifies Dr. Kirshner for being an idiot.
Like afterwards, Desmond was like, why did you do that?
And they didn't know it either. I guess he's been a secret racist. There aren't any black people at this hospital ever. I don't know. What happened after that? So then he gets sicker, I think, to the point where he has to call in Desmond. No, wait, I'm getting the names mixed up now. Yes, Desmond. He has to call in his friend Desmond to help him with the surgery, basically, because he says, I need you to do this transplant because I'm dying. I got like a week. And at first Desmond's like, I don't know about that. But he does it for the science, basically. Because he's like, what's there to lose? Except for obviously killing the other person. But, what's there to lose? So they do an extensive phone line scene, which I really appreciated, where they're just, calling people. Do you have anyone who has a brain cancer?
Like a bedroom. You saw like the closet behind them, and it's just like, we found 2 cases. No, we've only had 2 cases over the last 4 weeks. It just looks so. This film's very good about like showcasing big things and like on like small scale. I'll give it that. Wow.
Okay, so they have a hard time finding someone who's available. So Desmond does the next best thing and goes to death row. And the warden or whoever's in charge of death row basically tells all the prisoners, at least you'll be donating your body to science when you die.
And you live
like
for 30 days.
Yeah, you get 30 days extra.
Which doesn't really make sense for the warden to say 30 days extra because all those death row people do not die on the same day. Right. So that doesn't make any sense anyway. But
I was wondering about that because from what I understand, the process is actually like you can spend a lot of time on death row.
You can be there for years.
A lot more than 30 days. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. But they find this one prisoner who essentially, you find out later, but I don't want to break into every scene that he mentions it. You find out later that he believes he's innocent and that he was set up by someone who's a criminal who he thought was a friend but framed him. I wasn't quite sure about that.
It wasn't super fleshed out, but something to that effect. Yeah.
He was essentially framed, but he thought if he took the extra 30 days, then more information would come out and he would get exonerated. So that's why he decided, I'll just do this experiment. It'll be fine for 30 days.
I appreciate the confidence that he had in his girlfriend and the detective that they hired, because presumably if he's on death row, like it's been a while, like he's been trying for a long time, but he's like, I know 30 days is exactly what they need.
Yeah.
And I guess in the context of the story, we should say it's not like he immediately volunteered. It's literally like they are about to flip the switch on the electric chair. And then he goes, actually, hold up. I would like to become a medical donor.
He's super calm during it as well. He's just like,
yeah.
I think I might donate my body.
You got to give that guy a shout out. The guy who was like not his cellmate, but the guy next to him who was like, he's like, give that chair hell, give it hell, give it hell. Yeah.
Really into it.
Yeah, it's like an extended 30 or 45 second scene that's just close up on this random prisoner that we haven't seen before, we'll never see again.
Go get him, Jack. Go get him, Jack.
Give him out.
Then there was the one guard inside the room where the electric chair was, and he's like, more power to you or whatever, and then just walked over.
About to flip the switch.
Yeah.
Okay, so they get him. He agrees to be the patient. Desmond wheels him in. For a brief moment, who might I add, the prisoner's name is Fred, right?
No.
Jack.
Jack.
It's
Jack.
Jack.
Big
The
Jack.
doctor who was trying to be forced out was Fred.
Yes. So they wheel him in. They're like shaving his neck because of course it's a head transplant.
Yeah, you have to make that smooth. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, "Am I gonna be okay? Is this gonna hurt?" And they're like, "It's fine. Don't worry about it."
They never told him what exactly was happening. He was like,
He has
"It's
no
gonna
right.
hurt." They're like, "It'll be painless, but you're gonna die."
Yeah. He was like, "I just need my 30 days." So they do the transplant. The old racist guy wakes up first, Dr. Kirshner, and he's like, "I can feel my hand. It's so powerful. It's so
Starts
much
to lift it.
power." And he lifts it up, and he sees it's Jack Moss's hand, and he goes, "What have you done to me?"
Interestingly, this was a reference to Manos.
It's all interconnected. Yeah.
The hand.
The hand iconography was pretty potent.
Shoot. Okay. So at that point, I believe Jack Moss then wakes up and is very upset that he's got a new head on his shoulders.
As I think we all would be, but I will
Yes.
say it does seem like, all things considered, he does seem to have also taken that in pretty good stride.
Yeah.
Really, after he finds it out, like the first time he's a little, but then after he's like, okay.
Yeah.
He really handles it well.
Mhm.
He wakes up and Kirschner's just like, "Go back to sleep. We need rest."
Some rest.
Yeah, then they break their way out.
Well,
What a scene! Holy crap!
It was wonderful.
Could someone explain to me why Dr. Fred was there? Because I forgot why he got brought into the head transplant situation.
I
Williams?
think they were developing pneumonia, and there was some kind of weird rejection, but it was trying to reject Kirshner.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Dr. Desmond called him and was like, "Hey, you're like really good at all this. I apologize for him. I'm not racist. Would you?" I also liked how he tried to explain away the old man. He's like, he had a rough childhood. Dr. Fred's like, "I know something about that." Hey, this is 72. This guy grew up in the 50s and 60s. He's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
he had a rough childhood."
But there's this extended escape scene, which involves the minutia of going and getting a key out of a jacket pocket and like running back and forth across the house for a while. Several people get beat up by this man with two heads, but eventually they make it out. They start driving away, which I thought was going to be the extent of the escape scene. But little did I know.
They took Dr. Fred with them as well.
Yes, Dr.
Yeah.
Fred is also held at gunpoint to be the chauffeur during the escape.
The getaway driver, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So, to what
The
extent
cops are after him.
cops get called. To what extent do we need to talk about this escape scene?
I think we just need to mention they start running up the hill or whatever, and
Well-
they get on the dirt bikes eventually.
Well, hold up. Which part do you consider the escape scene? Because
The escape scene
Well-
is from when they get out of the building to when the cops stop following them. To me,
Oh,
Because
that,
all-
that's like 35
yeah.
minutes, though.
yeah,
Isn't it?
exactly.
I think it would be like two parts because they escape the house and then they go and just like this random. I guess they're in California. They just go up to the hills and what was a very covered area. So the helicopter was bound to find them, and then you kind of have like a little heart to heart, like
Mhm.
basically Dr. Williams, Dr. Kirshner, and
Big Jack.
Big Jack and Kirshner. I guess they're now one, and they kind of just have. This is when Dr. Williams and Dr. Kirshner, or no, Jack have an exchange. I don't know. What do they talk about there? Like they just.
Jack explains like why he was on death row, and he explains, what happened, why he's innocent. And then Dr. Williams is like, starts to believe and is like, I think you're right. I'll help you out. And at one point he's like, "I'll help you. Just put the gun away."
right. So convincing him that he was innocent didn't take much. He was just like, "I'm innocent." Dr. Williams was like, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yes." That was it, which I really appreciated.
They really also doubled down on Dr. Kirshner being racist during those scenes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any chance he gets, he goes, "That's what all criminals say, that they're innocent." It's
And then
like,
he said, "You people stick together."
Yeah.
I think, well,
but okay.
and the dirt bikes.
The dirt.
Yeah, I feel like we have to separate this into 3 distinct scenes.
Okay.
They escape the house, they drive, and then they get on a dirt bike.
Inexplicably.
Inexplicably, do they wreck their car, or what happens
Yeah,
with
they
their
get a
car?
flat tire.
They get a flat tire, yes.
Maybe during that long slope down thing that they do. I really couldn't keep track. It was very difficult to understand.
But yeah, because they come right up on like a dirt bike race,
It's like
and
a
one of the
motocross,
riders
yeah.
wipes out,
And they
and
take his
so
bike.
and so Jack is inexplicably an amazing dirt bike racer. Not his character, he just has the set of skills that's required, because he hops on it, with a second head, just after,
And Dr. Williams.
and Dr. Williams on the back.
Well, before that, for just a second, how do you think they because obviously they used a mold of Kirshner's head, which also looked pretty good.
It was good, yeah.
Convincing. And but like,
blinks and stuff.
what do you think this setup was like? Like because Jack was the one walking. Like, do you think they just had this massive jacket and he just like sat on his shoulder? Just like how did this happen? Like, what do you?
I was wondering about this. I think it's a mix between. I think most of the time he's just wearing the prosthetic.
Yeah.
Because there are certain scenes where you can definitely tell that Dr. Kirshner he's just hanging behind inside of Jack's jacket, because his head's like farther back, and it's just he's sort of like arching to be on the same level to do his jabs. And so in those instances, it's very clear that it's just another guy. But most of the time, I think it's just like he just has a head prop on his shoulder, and that's just held in by some frame, like covered by his coat.
Yeah.
They need to recreate it with green screen, and they could just give him a green suit from the neck down.
My favorite part's when they're lying down and they're like. Because there's a lot of scenes of them lying down.
I love the fact that they ended up winning the dirt bike race, and everyone's just like stunned, and it zooms in on the guy who waved the flag or whatever when they won. It just zooms in, and he's like,
There's another part during the this 3-part escape scene. I forget when it was. It was after the heart-to-heart, but I don't remember when the heart-to-heart took place. When the police helicopter finds them, and the police just shoot at them blindly, knowing that they're supposedly a hostage right there.
Yeah.
They start firing down.
Well, I think at this point, I think it's just like a thing. And like it's just like this science experiment gone wrong, maybe.
guess so.
And then they're just like, we gotta take this thing out.
Well, I think that the police were informed that Jack Moss, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Big
Just
Jack.
like he's a convicted murderer and he escaped. So
Right.
they were, I think they were just aiming to kill Jack Moss at that point.
But Dr. Williams.
I think
I don't think they knew
And the other head.
I think the cop in the helicopter who was shooting was actually Keanu Reeves' character from Speed. Shoot the hostage.
Yeah.
You take away their leverage if you just shoot the hostage.
He thought it was Dennis Hopper, so he was a little confused. Yeah.
So, was there anything else in that long escape scene?
I think after that, it's just
They
like 7 or 8 minutes of cop cars just crashing, chasing them on the dirt bike.
they evade 14 cop cars, and the way that they do it is that they drive into just an open field, and all the cops just go off-roading, and they're like, "We're ready, no matter what."
Every car wrecks in a different way. It felt like they just had all these cars and were like, we got to wreck them. I mean, we've got them already. There's no point in not doing it. So they kept thinking of more ways to wreck the cars.
It seemed like they had a lot of great ideas for how to wreck cars, and they retrofitted a movie in which they could create a situation in which there was just an extended car chase sequence.
Okay.
No, I was gonna say there's like a little seatbelt PSA there with like the Henry the guy, and they're like crash. He's like, I told you to be wearing a seatbelt.
this entire movie was just to teach people a safety lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it worked. Yeah.
They
I'm never going to drive a cop car
I'm never
in a field again. I'm never going to chase a dirt bike on a cop car.
Eventually, they evade the police and they shake him, and they go to Jack Moss's wife's. Well, I guess it's his their
girlfriend.
house. Ownership does not matter. So they are. She pretty easily gets used to it as well. Within one conversation, is just like, okay, Jack has a second head now.
That's not totally true.
He shows up and she says, "You get yourself into more shit." And that's her only comment on it.
She also asks if he has two of anything else.
Yeah.
Which is a great question.
He was very patient and kind.
I also liked when he was laying down and she went up to kiss him and she's like, maybe when I get used to, this more. And he looks over at Dr. Kirshner who says, "Now you know you gots to go."
This is what I was gonna say, because the following scene is she's just like, she's making up any excuse to get out of the room with him. She's just like, "I've got to go start dinner." And he's like, "You can wait to start dinner." Like, and she's like, "No, really, I've got to go." It's just like, it's like, "I just can't do it. I'm out."
But yeah,
So,
I mean,
please.
well, yeah, that sort of just goes on for a while, and then the whole thing with he starts, slowly. You can see Dr. Kirshner has more power over the body as time goes on.
Yeah. They then, if I remember, what Dr. Williams mentions, he could do the operation, or theoretically could at least remove Dr. Kirshner's head from Jack's body. So they devise this plan. They're going to go to this warehouse and get the supplies that they need. So they drive to this warehouse. They're rifling through all the things, and then Dr. Kirshner takes control of the body fully. So he pops Dr. Williams right in the head. One knockout, one punch knockout, and then Jack Moss's body punches Jack Moss. Such a great, it's so good.
Which I have to ask, because I was confused by that scene, because they go previously, they set up at somewhat great lengths to say you can't hurt each other, because if you hurt the other head, you're hurting yourself.
Right.
Like if you try to kill the other head, you'll kill yourself. And I assumed that would extend if you knock one head unconscious. It seems like that would affect the other.
What I thought that meant, my brain just went to like infection. Because earlier there's a scene where Jack Moss is aiming the gun at Dr. Kirshner's head, and he's just like, "What if I just shoot him and kill him?" And Dr. Williams said, "Well, that'll kill you too." I thought that just meant having an attached body part that is dead would kill you because of infection. But
that's not how I understood it a little bit more dramatically.
I know with the consciousness stuff, Dr. Kirshner was awake when he was taking a nap at some point, so one can be awake while the other's unconscious.
We have the power.
What if Jack was faking that nap?
That's my headcanon.
I really loved how Dr. Kirshner, after he knocks him out, and he's like laying there trying to do the surgery himself.
Yeah.
To remove the head. I'm like, it was really weird. That's not a smart idea, I wouldn't think.
But yeah, to wrap the movie up, a lot happens in the last 10 minutes. They rush back, or Dr. Kirshner rushes back and tries to start doing the surgery by himself, of course, which is obviously absurd. But then Dr. Fred Williams wakes back up. He stops him, and he calls for Dr. Desmond to show up. By the time Dr. Desmond arrives, Dr. Kirshner's head has been removed from Jack Moss's body, and it's just laying there.
It's just free floating,
Free floating on a chair.
It's like it's connected to like a bunch of tubes with like blood, whatever.
Like a blood and lung system. Or
something that's definitely scientifically accurate.
Yeah,
I assume.
And he's just like, "Bring me another body, please." And then it cuts to
Oh, happy day.
Happy day.
It cuts to Jack Moss, Dr. Williams, and Jack's wife, whose name I forgot, just singing "Oh Happy Day" driving down the road. And
roll credits.
Roll credits.
That's all we need.
Oh boy.
We've got some trivia for this.
We
one.
yeah.
some trivia.
It was hard. We did a lot of hard, honest work, but it's pretty clearly paid off.
Also, one thing real quick. When I first saw the trailer, I immediately thought that Dr. Kirshner was the same actor as Bob Kelso.
I also thought this.
There are a lot of similarities. He's got a similar voice.
And he looks pretty similar, and
Yeah.
he's also a racist.
Yeah. Really, all the pieces fall in place. Yeah. I can only assume that's who Bob Kelso was modeled after.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And in my headcanon, they do find him another body, or maybe this takes place in the past, but all of Scrubs takes place, and then
Right.
he comes up with this technique to remove his head.
He eventually takes JD's body.
No.
Okay. Would you guys like to hear some trivia, though?
Oh, yeah.
John, do you want to read the first question? Or you
I
want
would like to read the first one. So,
Oh, please do.
well, thank you. It's a tale as old as time. We've all seen it. Films that come out in pairs, almost. So when you have seemingly like a pretty original idea, and then you have a film that basically does the same
Right.
thing. Like within a year or two, or like that same summer. That's a cycle that seems to happen a lot of films.
Yeah.
And this film is no exception. So there was a film the year before, 1971, that used this exact same premise, which was two people with two heads, one body, even down to like and one of them's a criminal. Except, well, I won't say what the change was, but I am curious. So we've created a list of titles, and I want you to guess which one is the real sister story to The Thing with Two Heads. So I'll read them off as follows. So we've got 5 options. So is it 1, I Hate Your Guts? 2, Better Than One? 3, The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant? 4, The Monster Men? Or 5, The Misters?
The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant.
I'm going to go with Better Than One, solely based on the fact that in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, there's a song that's called Two Heads Are Better Than One.
I'm gonna go with the Misters.
Okay. Wow.
A good split. All right. So the correct answer was the Incredible Two-Headed Transplant. But we did very much enjoy coming up with the other titles.
The Misters.
The Misters.
My idea, Eli.
That was
very good.
Alex's. Better Than One, I take credit for. But
Incredible
I just think it's wild that they literally did this movie. I mean, the racist aspect was basically, I assumed they saw the other movie or heard about the other movie and then got high and they're like, but what if he was a racist? Because
right.
It is kind of an interesting concept though. Like it is imaginative. Like it definitely is, and I feel like it actually works. Probably like pre motocross race scene. I'm like on board. I'm like this might actually be saying something. Like this might actually be trying to. I mean, honestly, there's just no arc. I mean, I wish Kirshner would get an arc, but he's just.
I agree.
That's what I was. Yeah.
I don't know if the original script burned and something happened and they were like, we got to fill this space. Like I remember a chase scene, so we'll do like 30 minutes of chase.
So they were like, it must have been an entire chase scene.
Yeah, it's kind of a good idea. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's yeah.
It makes me wonder if like they did have the full script and then a friend described that script to someone else, and then the person with the original script died and was lost to time, and they had to make the movie based on what he remembered of being told about.
Yeah, and the director of this film, he was a white guy, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's very interesting that, and that's sort of like what his other movies we mentioned before the pod, they deal with like racial injustice and like sexuality, all that different type of stuff. So he definitely has an interesting raw. I mean, I wish he just would have finished. It's kind of an interesting concept to just introduce and just kind of like.
Well, it doesn't really go anywhere, which is the weird
no, it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I was originally thinking, maybe I was giving it too much credit. I was thinking the theme is fear, right? Because he's afraid of dying and he's afraid of, others. And I thought maybe they're going to go like they could redeem him where he could be like he's okay with dying, but he's also okay with Jack. But it never happened. And I was really thinking that was going to happen.
He has no character growth. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also neither do any of the others.
No.
It really feels like an SNL skit because it just like it's not fleshed out at all. And you could have done the same thing in like 3 minutes, basically. And then is about as effective. It just feels like an elevator pitch. But.
Yeah, I think it tries to do something, and I like Eli said, it does vilify Kirshner, which is good because I'm so glad it did not commit in any other direction other than just because I think Williams Dr. he's a badass, he's cool.
Yeah. Dr. Williams is cool as well, I thought.
Yeah, and I mean Dr. Desmond is really nice. I mean he's just like a kind of guy. But
they committed a lot further to vilifying him, to vilifying Dr. Kirshner than I had expected, honestly. It was surprisingly not problematic in that aspect because it just immediately just this guy is one-dimensional, he's terrible, he is a racist, and he's going to get what is coming to him, which is to be a disembodied head, which just seemingly doing fine.
It dealt with the racism aspect a lot better than I thought it would. Going in after reading the premise, I was like, this could end up being pretty bad pretty quickly. But I mean, I've happily it didn't turn into that what I thought it would.
I was also relieved.
All right, gentlemen, are we ready for the next trivia question?
Yes.
Please.
All right. So, Michael Viner was an executive at MGM Records, and he created a band called the Incredible Bongo Band, specifically to create music for this movie. The band would also go on to have a short-lived life of its own for about 2 years and released a few albums after the movie. So, what famous musician is to have worked on some of the tracks of the Incredible Bongo Band? Is it 1, Ringo Starr, 2, Elvis Presley, 3, Michael Jackson, or 4, Bobby Bean and the Barrel Boys?
So you're saying one of those 3? I mean, one of those 4?
One of those 4.
Worked on
well,
this?
everyone's a collective, so part of it counts.
Right.
But yes.
Could you repeat them again? Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Okay, gotcha.
2, Elvis Presley, 3, Michael Jackson, 4, Bobby Bean and the Barrel Boys.
I'm going to guess Ringo.
Okay, Kyle's got Ringo.
Bobby Bean.
I'll go with MJ.
All right. Eli says Michael Jackson. Troy, is that your serious answer?
That's my serious answer.
Does he know who Bobby Bean and the Barrel
Like
Boys
that?
cut out?
I have no clue. No, I don't.
It's Bobby Mosher.
That's the connection with the
It's still my answer. It's still my answer.
I mean, hey, Bongo, that's the character from The Legend of Bobby.
True.
Yeah.
So the correct answer was Ringo Starr.
It is alleged that he worked on tracks for the Incredible Bongo Band, which I just like that they created this band. This band primarily made instrumental, upbeat, not covers, but just upbeat instrumental music using bongos primarily. So it was it's basically they just created elevator music for a couple of years and then just got out. But
That's beautiful.
Another quick tidbit about that band. One of their songs that they used during the chase scene was actually then a few years later, sampled by DJ Kool Herc, who was a hip hop rap artist in the Bronx, and he is credited with actually helping create modern hip hop and rap in the Bronx.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that the thing with two heads created modern hip hop and rap.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
It would not exist without this movie. This movie has impact we cannot understand.
No, it's interesting you say that, Alex, because basically, I think if you look it up, the film's like its score is notable. Like that's a really big notable thing about it is that people remember the score.
Right.
So I mean, the music it was pretty great.
It was.
I
Good
enjoyed
stuff.
John, do you want to do the last question?
Yeah. Our last question. This is a pretty simple one, but Ray Millard is obviously our beloved doctor. Well, our infamous Dr. Max Kirshner. Lovable in some ways, I guess.
I'm perfectly fine with his fate.
But anyways, so which of these good movies? Which one of these good movies did he star in?
The thing with two heads.
not including the thing with two heads. Was it? I also saw 5. Was it 1, The Sound of Music? 2, The Legend of Bobby. 4, 3, Dial M for Murder. 4, Psycho. Or 5, Roman Holiday.
I'm gonna say Dial In for Murder. He wasn't in Psycho. No way.
What was the last one?
I'll say Roman Holiday.
Roman Holiday.
Roman Holiday. I'm gonna go with Dial In for Murder.
I say Roman Holiday.
Okay.
Well, in that case, Kylan, you are wrong. It was Dial M for Murder. Yes,
Hey.
he is the lead in that movie.
Oh no! Wow.
Yeah.
Well, how do you go from? I'm pretty sure that's Hitchcock. How do you go from
It is
that?
Hitchcock, yeah.
Well, I mean, I wonder what Lee Frost was like saying to these people when he handed them the script. Like, what were they thinking when they were reading it? With like, God, this is amazing. Like,
I can't confirm that this is true. I don't remember where I read it, or if I read it, or if I'm making it up. But I want to say that it was partially Ray Millard. I think was a big reason this movie got made. I want to say that he sort of brute forced this into existence. That may be false.
did he produce it? Did he like help produce it?
I'm not sure, but he might have felt passionately about it. I don't know where I don't know where my brain's pulling that from. So take that with a grain of salt. But.
I didn't read anything like that, but I also read that late in his career, he started starring in like a lot of obscure lower level movies, and one of them was called Frogs.
Yeah, I've heard of Frogs. Yeah.
Was I think about like killer frogs attacking people.
Yes, that sounds wonderful.
So I hope that pops up on a 0% list at some point.
I'm gonna look real quick and see.
Well, on that note, like, do you have you guys do you guys think it deserves 0? Like, do you think this movie deserves 0? Like, what would you? I don't think it. I think like it maybe deserves 50 for like its first.
Yeah.
Maybe not 50.
Alex has a 29%.
I can see giving this movie
29%.
a positive
Really?
review.
They need to bring that down.
The ending. Yeah.
I don't think it deserves a 0 at all. It's definitely the best movie we've watched so far in this series.
I definitely agree with that.
I'd agree with that as well.
Its production is pretty good. Production is way better than Manos, and the production is also better than They Saved Hitler's Brain. I felt like they just kind of sputtered their wheels a little bit, but it doesn't deserve a 0. I'd say it deserves a 30%.
Yeah, I was saying like 30, 40. If it would have like actually had a good direction, I think it like if we would have saw Kirshner maybe come back around, actually have an arc and all that. Yeah, I think
if they would have cut the dirt bike scene down a little bit.
I disagree. I totally disagree with you guys. I give it a 6 out of 10. The dirt bike scene was amazing.
Is Lee Frost still alive?
I don't know.
Because you could get him onto the show.
That would be wonderful.
That would be wild. A little retrospective. But I would probably give this movie like 6 out of 10. 3 stars.
Wow.
I think
Lee
it's
Frost died.
no. Why did you do that to him, Kylan?
2007.
He didn't get another body.
I knew we were born in the wrong
He didn't
era.
follow his own advice.
Yeah, I would probably give it like a 40.
I'd also go about
Huh?
a 40 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, this one is the one that has really surprised me that it does have a 0, and I
Yeah.
think it might be
Yeah.
because there's so few critical reviews.
Yeah, there's only
Okay.
8.
Yeah, there's like 8, and most of them like don't have quotes. I didn't look much farther than that, but
I do know Roger Ebert gave it a 1 out of 4.
yeah, I read the Ebert
'Cause I-
review. Yeah, he did not like this movie.
I looked on IMDb and it had like a 4.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
That seems right to me.
If it was like an hour and 50 minutes, it would be miserable. Oh, but the nice hour, 20-minute runtime, it's not even, it's a tight 80. I love a tight 90, but a tight 80 is even better. Velocipaster's a tight 70.
it's
So-
true,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and it's packed.
The Man of Eli is like a tight 25-ish, I think.
Less than that, yeah. I think it's sub 20.
Oh,
Maybe
See,
I
The
don't
Man of
know.
Eli.
Or maybe it's 23:10. That's my guess.
Maybe that's what maybe it didn't have a long enough runtime to be distributed. So they were like, you got to make this, you got to pad on this chase sequence. We can't have like we can't have an 80-minute film. Well, that's like with the Friday the 13th movies. Like you for like the first like 2, 3, like it shows literally like 5 minutes of the ending of the previous movie. So you're like, maybe they had to pad some runtime on there or something. I don't know.
So do we want to do changes?
Yeah, we can do our changes. So, Troy, this segment, you get
Yes.
one change, and we're each going to go around and say them. You get one change to ensure that this movie wins an Academy Award. Now,
That's
this can
cool.
be plot, this can be an actor, music, cinematography, anything, but you get one change.
Wow. Okay. Don't make me go first. Please don't make me go first.
Does anyone have theirs already?
I have an idea.
I have one as well.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go first, Alex.
Yeah.
Instead of you have Dr. Kirshner, right, as the new head. You guys know where this is going.
I
You
know
have
exactly where
Torgo instead.
Torgo.
The heads of fate.
But they also transfer Torgo's legs.
Specifically the knees.
Yes, specifically the
Just
knees.
his legs.
Well, no, they put his legs and his head on Jack Moss's body.
At that point, why wouldn't they just put Jack Moss's head onto his body?
Because that's too easy.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
What
They
if
have
they
to push themselves a
transplanted
little bit.
what if they transplanted Torgo's head and legs to his staff to where his his abdomen is just the staff? I think my change would be, so the music was good, but I'm going to do one thing to put it over the top to where it can win, best sound editing or best original score.
Are these specifically our changes to win an Oscar?
Yes.
Okay.
So this involves a certain popular Shrek-based band coming out earlier than they really did.
The Bare
And
Naked
during-
Ladies, yeah.
Yeah. So during the chase sequence, you just hear the one sample as the cop cars keep coming and wrecking of, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming, over and over again for the entire 7 to 8 minute thing that the cops wrecking.
Ugh.
That's a winner right there.
Oh yeah.
That'll get that.
I think that's got it. Yeah.
For sure.
This has shifted because I originally was just thinking of a change I wanted to see.
Mhm.
Regardless, which would be I would add a third head, and specifically it wouldn't be that it would be that Jack and Max are both transplanted onto as heads on either side of the gorilla, and then they have to deal with that dynamic. But
It's
if
like-
we're trying to win an Oscar, I think we need to lean into the movie's strengths and just amplify those and just remove the pretense of that the movie is about this whole other thing and just be like, this movie is about the chase. You know, the chase is the bulk of this movie. I think we need to lean into that. And I think the best way to do that is we're going to bring in, we're playing around with the rules of time and space, but filmmaker Edgar Wright, known for Baby Driver, I think his skills could be turned very well to the extended dirt bike scene. So we're going to have a lot of sampled music, and it's going to be diegetical. I believe that's the term. And then we're going to. It's just he's already got the quips in there. We're going to stylize it a little bit more, and I think that's a way we could get best cinematography, best direction. I think it's easily in the cards.
I like it.
Eli, you got your
Yes,
change
I
yet?
do. Okay. So while this actor, I'm changing an actor. This actor has never himself won an Academy Award. I do believe this is the film he could do it in.
You?
So I say we replace the actor for Jack Moss, as great as he is, with we replace him with Samuel L. Jackson,
Yes.
character from Sunset Limited. I think there's going to be a lot of just really long dialogue scenes, and I think his work with Tommy Lee Jones in Sunset Limited will really push him up to the Academy Award level. That is my change.
This could be his big break. Yeah.
Big break. No one knows who he is.
Troy, what's your change?
So I'm going to play off of Eli's, if I could do that. And I'm going to say imagine Samuel L. Jackson in this role.
Okay.
Now, this is 72 or something?
72, yes.
So I'm saying Jimmy Stewart is perfect age for Kirshner. So I think Samuel L. Jackson and Jimmy Stewart, that play,
That's
it
Nice.
would be very good. You just got Jimmy Stewart just being like, well, we need a rest. I'm just so mad. I mean, I think
Can we also add in what's his name? Sean Connery.
How would
Dr.
he fit
Desmond.
Yes.
So, as you all watched this, I kept thinking back to the previous movie we watched, and I was wondering, is there any way they could have gotten their hands on the severed head of Hitler from They Saved Hitler's Brain and added it to this film?
I couldn't stop thinking about
He
it.
definitely should have.
Yeah.
I was going to bring this up, yeah, because my mom actually brought this up because I was describing to her They Saved Hitler's Brain and The Thing with Two Heads, and I was describing how Hitler only survives with his head and shoulders intact.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was either my mom or my younger sister asked why they just didn't perform the full body transplant a la this movie, which I think is clearly a missed opportunity. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They didn't have the technology.
Yeah.
All right.
If only.
Do we want to move into the segment where we do our reframing and pitching this to a studio?
Can I subvert the pitch slightly, or just alter the pitch slightly?
Yes.
So rather than so what we did for Manos, for context, Troy, we basically said you're a publicist and you're trying to sell Manos the Hands of Fate. Like what's your pitch to make money back on this project? Instead, this is just something I was thinking about in the shower today. And I was like, I gotta ask the boys this. And it's you, for whatever reason, are tasked with developing and pitching the sequel to this movie. The thing with Two Heads 2, or it might just be the thing with two heads, because we're in the early 2000s. Right. But it has to be. My stipulation is that it has to be the same two people, and they have to get fused together again. What is the circumstance in which you propose that they unwittingly become partners in crime again?
Okay.
I think I got an idea. So, what happens is, Dr. Kirshner, his head is there, as normal. They end up transplanting him to a different body. Then we cut over and we see Jack and everyone else driving. They have a wreck. Jack's body becomes it doesn't work anymore, but his brain is still working. So they transplant Jack's head to Dr. Kirshner's new body. So this new body, now whose it is, could be anyone. It could be, this is the 70s, who was president? Eisenhower, someone like that. Maybe they end up becoming president. They get put on the president's body. The Thing with Two Heads leads the country into war on the back of a horse. I think that's really where it needs to go.
Okay. I like it.
I'm going to have to bounce out a little early, but Kylan, that was incredibly historically inaccurate. That's like Richard Nixon time.
Same guy, Eisenhower, Nixon. They were both people from before I was born.
That is true. So we're all but like 3 presidents. 4.
Yeah.
All right.
Alex, if you have to bounce, or would you possibly be able to give your super quick reasoning and maybe your superlative?
My
the film?
superlative. I don't know about superlative. I can come up with quick reasoning for. Actually, no, I can't. Superlative. Best use of 14 cop cars and a motorbike.
Very good, sir. It's been a pleasure.
He's off to pitch a sequel idea to Disney, Kylan.
He is.
Yes. Get me on Disney Plus.
All right. All right.
Troy,
That's
Troy, do you have a pitch?
No, this is super easy, super easy. Now, I say this is going to be 10 years later in 1982. Ghost stories are a big thing, slashers, whatever. So it's been 10 years since the events of The Thing with Two Heads. Jack and his girl, I can't remember her name. They're living happily. They are raising 2 lovely children in a home out in the outside of. So basically, they are moving into the suburb of a metropolitan American city, and basically, they accidentally move in to a house that somehow was built upon the grave of Kirshner. And it's just Kirshner's body. His head, so for some reason, his head is not there. It's just his body. His head comes back to haunt. Not his head. His body comes back to haunt Jack's family. And it's called The Thing with No Head. And basically it's just a horror story where Kirshner doesn't get the arc we want him to have, and he just haunts Jack. And Jack eventually has to kill him again.
Yeah.
He has to kill his body now, because whatever happened to his body? What do you think happens like after your transplant?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think it was
Where did
buried.
it go?
They try and sew a gorilla's head on it.
It's just some musical chairs. They all swap. Yeah.
Does that make sense though? Did my pitch make sense?
Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Poltergeist a bit.
Yeah. Well, why not just like completely just take Poltergeist out of the timeline and just insert it with the thing with the head?
John, what's your sequel pitch?
Mine is not fully fleshed out, I'll admit, which is hypocritical because I asked the question. But I think it starts in a similar vein to Troy's in that it's been an indeterminate period of time. Jack and his wife have moved on. They're having a good situation. And there's some, I haven't figured out what exactly the inciting incident is, but there's some situation that necessitates, perhaps like some sort of cosmic level, like that there has to be a live action remake of the Dragon Tales cartoon series. And they're having tremendous difficulty casting the character Zack and Wheezy, which, if you will recall from the show, are two dragon heads that share the same body. And they, maybe it's a thing where space aliens have come down and they've said, they decree that you do create this. Maybe there's some sort of child god that demands it. And so, to save the world, Jack's like, he goes into the basement, he unlocks the door, he walks down. You see on the shelf in the back, he takes off a cloth. It's been a long time, Jack. And he goes, it's time. And he goes to the telephone. Fred, I'm going to need a favor. Fred comes over, they reattach, and they go and they do their tryout, and they make the cut. Maybe it's a musical, maybe it's like a live action theatrical production. Oh, we lost Eli.
We lost.
But,
Kirshner got him.
Flies. Yeah, but that's what I would do. So, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think this was an enjoyable film to watch. I think it was. there's lots of potential in this two-headed universe. It's also a good way. I was thinking it's also a really good way to have like one character like be literally put in conflict with another. Literally,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like being handcuffed together. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I've received word from Eli. His laptop died.
Unbelievable. We were dropping like flies.
All right, so do you want to do our superlatives real quick? And then
let's just do superlatives. Yeah.
okay.
I'm trying to think what mine would be. And Troy, this is just a very specific award that you think the thing with two heads has done better in whatever specific aspect than any other film. So like Alex's was best use of 14 cop cars and a dirt bike in any film. I think mine would probably be best or most dramatic portrayal by an extra in a prison who you don't ever see again.
Go get him! Go get him, Jack! Man.
I think mine's going to be the best use of burying a main actor in the dirt up to his neck so that you can use his head as a second head on another person's body.
That's good. I'm going to say best use of medical jargon / medical equipment, like makeshift medical equipment.
We got Eli back.
Like with the head at the end, like whatever they're hooked up to, literally their blood supply is just going from their head in a tube into some contraption that's literally just spinning like a fan. I think these medical facilities, whatever you want to call it, best use of medical facilities, equipment, jargon, when they're doing the operation, they're just like, sponge. And then they literally, it's so seamless. They just take Kirshner's head and they're just like, it just locks into place like a Lego. It's like the operation of a century is just in this like crummy, dusty basement. I don't know. I think like I said earlier, I think they did what they could with the resources. I'm really interested like how a motocross race even gets into the picture. Like were they just filming and they saw it and they did production value? Like I don't know.
I would love to know why or how that ended up in there. It reminds me of there's like a story in Hollywood circulating about like isn't there like a giant spider or something at the end of Wild Wild West? Am I making that up?
I haven't seen
Is that the Will Smith movie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a Western.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So apparently there was some executive, Kevin Smith tells a story about how he was pitching a Superman movie, and there's this one executive who was he's got to fight this giant mechanical spider. And apparently this executive would pitch that same giant mechanical spider idea in like every movie, and he eventually got it to actually happen in Wild Wild West. So I wonder if it was a thing where somebody had like, we have to do a motocross race. It has to be in there. And this is just the movie where they were able to push it through.
Eli, real quick, what's your superlative?
Well, first of all, my apologies. My laptop died.
I told everyone.
As happens.
We laugh.
Yeah. We
Second,
make fun of you.
I think my superlative would have to be most uncomfortable scene exit when right before Dr. Williams arrives, there's that guy trying to pitch his idea to Dr. Kirshner, and then Dr. Williams comes in and Dr. Kirshner starts being racist, and that guy's like, I'll come by another time. And he just sort of sneaks out of the scene.
All right,
I felt for that man. It was just like.
So real quick, right before we finish, what do you give this out of 10? I'll give it a 4.5. Just go
6.
around.
I'll give it a 6 out of 10. 3 stars. I'm feeling generous.
John, you were very generous right now.
I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, and I think that's why I wowould almost give it a 5. But I'm gonna say I'm not gonna be review bra and be like it's a 4 point, but I say 4.5 because like the first and almost second half of the second act is pretty good into the chase scene, and then it just kind of falls apart from there. So.
Yeah,
I'll give it a 4.0.
Nice.
Reasonable.
Okay.
It's a great grade.
Yeah.
So Troy, we want to thank you for being here.
Yes.
Do you have
yes,
something
thank
you
so
would
much.
like to, a certain website you would like to plug?
Or just anything.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Letterboxd. You can follow Rare Western, which is a new pop culture blog that my roommates and friends are starting. So you can check that out. Just rarewestern.com. But yeah, and check out my Camp Crystal Lake extravaganza. I'm almost finished on Letterboxd.
Nice.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for
It's
being
such a
here.
lovely
for
time.
So
Now I'll get back to my LA mansion.
So next week, we will be reviewing the 1979 romantic musical Roller Boogie starring Linda Blair.
Oh, Exorcist girl.
Yeah,
Reagan
yeah.
from The Exorcist. Wow. Dang.
90% of Google reviewers liked that movie, and I'm
Oh.
very curious to see what that
Yeah.
means when we actually see it. But all right,
That'll be a
it's
good
been
time.
it's been fun, gentlemen. We'll see you then.
See you
Thanks
then.
for having me.
See ya.
Of course.
Thank you, Troy.
See ya.